What's up, everyone, or my little pretties, as I call it? Welcome to another episode of Shadows and Pretties. Yes, this is episode 22. So instead of doing a poll, I decided to pick something a little different that I wanted to do for my video. So I decided to go through, what I have covered and what I haven't covered so far, and I realized I have never colored Alice in Wonderland. Of course, I am going to be doing the covering the Disney movie that came out in 1951, and we're also going to be covering the Alice book series by Lewis Carroll. Now, I'm only going to do the first book because we don't have time to go through the others. Now, about this movie, there is a live action remake of it that came out in 2010, directed by Tim Burton. I'm not going to go too much into that one, but I'm just going to say that it's basically a remake of Alice in Wonderland, and the plot is basically the same. So, what to expect in a remake, the plot has to be the same, otherwise, it'd be a completely different movie. Of course, they do have a sequel called Look Through the Looking Glass, which I'm not going to go to that topic, mainly because there's some stuff that was just an idea thrown in there. But anyway, I am going to get started with the Disney one, and then we're going to go to the original story behind it because it's not that disturbing as the other ones we've covered, like Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, and all that. Not those kind of bad, like, back stories that just gets really messed up. But I think Alice in Wonderland has like the less gruesome detail when it came to the original story. So basically, Alice becomes bored with her sister's history lesson on Norman the Conquest of England, so she basically wants to adventure off, leading her to a riverbank. However, Alice then spots a white rabbit bit saying he's late for an important date. So she chases the rabbit, but falls into a large hole and then sees through a tiny door whose doorknob was talking to advise her to shrink to appropriate height by drinking the bottle that marked "Drink Me." So she does that, finds out that she needs a key, so she ended up being too tall again, and then she ends up crying into the tears, and basically she ends up being in a river full of, well, we could just say that it's a sea of her own tears. Of course, she did meet some other characters like the dodo, the walrus, and the carpenter, and yeah, those characters were in the original book, except they were kind of different. But of course, that was in the Looking Glass that they had the idea. And Tweedledee and Tweedledum in the original no story was in the Looking Glass, but in the Disney movie, they were included in it. So basically, Alice tracks the rabbit to his house, and he mistakes her for his housemaid and sends her to retrieve his gloves. So meanwhile, while she's looking for the gloves in the rabbit's house, Alice finds yet another cookie that says "Eat me," and she grows large again. Getting stuck in the house and thinking her as a monster, the rabbit asks the dodo bird to help expel her. But when the dodo decides to burn down the house, Alice escapes by eating the carrot from the rabbit's garden, which causes her to shrink to 3 inches tall. Continuing to follow the rabbit, Alice then meets a garden of talking flowers who welcomed her with a song. But of course, the talking flowers are in the Looking Glass, but I'm talking about the Disney one. So let's get going. So then she makes comments about her appearance in order to leave. Then Alice encounters the caterpillar. So basically, the caterpillar becomes enraged of Alice after she laments her small size, which is basically the same as the caterpillars. However, the caterpillar turns into a butterfly and flies away, and of course, he advised Alice to eat a piece of mushroom to alter her size. So she does so and returns to her original height, continuing the chase after the rabbit. So, like, one side of the mushroom makes you grow taller, and the other one will grow you shorter. So Alice then continues to follow the white rabbit. So in the woods, Alice then meets the Cheshire Cat, who advises her to meet the Mad and the March Hares to learn about the rabbit's location. So she encounters them both with the mouse at the hare's house at a bad tea party celebrating on birthdays. Now that was just yet again another idea from the Looking Glass. The Hatter and the Hare asks Alice to explain the predicament, to which Alice tries but becomes frustrated with her interruptions. So she prepares to leave, but the rabbit appears, continuing to exclaim that he's late. So the Hatter exclaims the rabbit's pocket watch and says it's 2 days slow. He attempts to fix it, which he tries to fill it up with food and tea, and ends up destroying it and declare it mad. So the rabbit laments, and then with his his watch was an unbirthday present. The Hatter and the Hare begin to sing the unbirthday song. Of course, fed up with the nonsense, Alice decides to return home, but her surroundings have completely changed and gets lost. Fearing that she's lost forever, she starts crying. Yeah, you guys are saying, wait, she's like another Dorothy character. Well, they kind of are similar, but except they're a little different compared to the Wizard of Oz Dorothy and this one. So, we're just going to begin with the next part of this is where Alice goes into to this beautiful garden, which the Cheshire Cat appears and invites Alice to visit the Queen of Hearts. So right here, Alice goes in there to the Queen's castle, and of course, she meets the playing cards and she meets the king. In this one, he's meek and nice, but in the book, he's just as mean as his wife. So yeah, very different there. So of course, the Queen orders the beheading of the one of the trio playing cards who mistakenly planted the white roses instead of red ones, but paint them to look like red. So, of course, she says her favorite famous quote, off with her head. So, of course, Alice meets the Queen of Hearts, and the Queen of Hearts forces her to play against her match in a croquet match. So, with which live flamingos as mallets, card guards as like little hoops, and hedgehogs used as equipment. Of course, the game goes really good, but then all of a sudden the cat appears again and plays a trick on the Queen of Hearts, causing her to fall over. So the cat disappears, and then to time to make it look like Alice was the prankster. But before the Queen could order her to be beheaded, the King ends up suggesting a trial. So at Alice's trial, the Mad Hatter, March Hare, and Dormouse called to stand as the witness, as briefly as the Queen celebrating the unbirthday and giving her a headpiece as a present, which turns into a cat. So, of course, that chaos ensures when the Dormouse is frightened, and when Alice points out the cat runs around the courtroom. As the Queen orders Alice's execution, Alice basically eats the piece of the caterpillar's mushroom is safe and grow large again. But, of course, the King and Queen order to leave the courthouse, but she refuses, insults the Queen, and she does so and turns to normal size. So the Queen ends up getting all pissy all of a sudden and ends up orders for execution. Of course, Alice flees, and the king, queen, guards, and other characters give the chase. When Alice reaches to the small door countering from the beginning of the film, the doorknob shows her that she's actually outside asleep. So Alice yells at herself to wake up, and she does so thanks to her sister. And of course, they return home for tea. So what a really great Disney movie that is. You know, I definitely have to say, this one is actually very different compared to the actual story I'm going to tell. So basically, it's pretty much the same, except there are some different, differences in the story. So I definitely have to say the animation of it was pretty good. However, this was actually something. Now, the development of this was basically sickly wanting to do a full-length animated live action, but of course, plans were scrapped in favor of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So basically, in 1933, they wanted to basically make a live action version of this, but they scrapped it. And of course, they did the adaptation. That's by Paramount. Of course, Disney was put off by that. So around the fall of 1945, of course, when the war ended, Disney revived Alice in Wonderland, and that was when it was being developed. By early 1948, Cinderella had progressed further than that, so Alice in Wonderland actually took a little bit longer to make than the other Disney movies. Now, wow, I'm going to say right now that we're going to actually read the stories of Alice Adventures in Wonderland. That's basically what the novel that was made back in 1865 by Lewis Carroll. So the plot of this is basically the same, but I'm going to explain about some of the details of it that was very different. So basically, the whole thing, just ends up getting lost in history, and there is, of course, hypnosis of certain chapters. So basically, we get the White Rabbit yet again. Everything is went on just fine. Same thing with the first one. However, the third chapter, which I'm going to say right now that Disney didn't really appear, which is basically the caucus race and the long tail. So, of course, about the animals getting swept away by Alice's tears of rising waters. They even try to get the question as how to get dry again. The mouse gives them a very dry lecture on William the Conqueror, and the dodo decides that the best thing to dry off would be a caucus race, which basically consists of everyone running into the circle with no clear winner. So surprisingly, I didn't know Disney didn't bother to add this in. Like, I think that might be a little bit pointless. Well, you do see it a little bit in the movie, but not like that. So of course we even send the lizard, little Bill, to basically go climb the roof and the chimney outside. Same thing, I guess, with the movie. But of course, this is when things get a little different. Some characters were not in this movie, but other characters were in it. So, of course, we get to see later on is that in chapter 5, we see the blue caterpillar yet again, and we end up getting the same thing. So, however, we eventually get to, well, the Duchess house. That was in the 6th chapter, which of course he delivers a frog footman. Alice observes the transaction and after perplexing with a conversation with the frog, lets herself in the house, and of course the Duchess cook is throwing dishes and making soup that has too much pepper, and which causes Alice and the Duchess and her baby to not cook or grinning the Cheshire cat to sneeze violently. So Alice is given the baby by the Duchess and basically says to Alice's surprise, the baby turns into a pig. So surprisingly, that's when the Cheshire cat appears and then directing her to the March Hare's house. So I'm surprised Disney did not even bother to put the Duchess characters in. I think maybe they thought too many characters of it or something like that. They might, get a little confused, maybe put on, overall different scenarios and that. So surprisingly, the Duchess was not in the Disney movie as I was thinking it would have been a good idea, but yet again, it's a story, so of course we get the Mad Tea Party, but in this one there is no unbirthday party. It's just basically like a tea party, but a never-ending tea party, so it's tea time all the time. So the characters gives Alice many riddles and stories like the famous "Why is a raven like a writing desk?" So surprisingly, Alice in this one has to recite poems and riddles and that. But in the movie, that doesn't seem the case. I think Disney would find it, to be a little bit more complicated. So of course, Alice leaves the tea party, enters the garden where she comes upon from the beginning of the story, and ends up seeing the white roses on the red rose tree because the Queen of Hearts hates white roses. So the more the cards, kings and queens, and even off the right rabbit enters the garden, and that's where Alice meets the king and queen. Of course, the king is just as mean as his wife, so basically they end up playing a game of croquet, but of course they end up finding out that the cat was causing the orders, so the Queen of Hearts orders the cat to be beheaded, but only have to have the executioner complain that it is impossible since they can't find him, and that the cat belonged to the Duchess, and the Queen was prompt to release the Duchess from prison resolve after. So the question about this is that how did she end up in prison? Like, she was fine in the 6th chapter, and then all of a sudden it just goes all over the place. I don't understand that. That's just a question a lot of people really didn't understand. So basically, we're getting to chapter 9, which is the Duchess is brought to the croquet grounds at Alice's request, and she, of course, tells her about the morals and everything around her. Of course, the Queen of Hearts dismisses her on the threat of execution, and she introduces Alice to the Griffin. Yeah, surprisingly, that character and the Mock Turtle was not in the Disney movie. I'm surprised Disney didn't even add those characters. And the Mock Turtle is very sad, even though he has no sorrow, and he tells the story about how he used to be a real-life turtle in school, which the Griffin interrupts so they can get back to the game. So, of course, they do the lobster quadrille, which, of course, the Mock Turtle and the Griffin dance to the story while Alice recites the "'Tis the voice of the lobster," which is very incorrectly. So later on in chapter 11, Alice attends a trial by the King of Hearts accused of stealing the Queen's tarts. So the jury compares of many animals, including Bill the Lizard, the White Rabbit's courts the Trumpeter, and the judge is the King of Hearts, or Cave of Hearts, whatever you prefer to call it. So, of course, this is actually pretty different compared to the Disney movie. So basically, Alice scoffs and calls Dormouse's accusation for ridiculous, since everyone grows and can't help it. When of course she gets accused for for growing has no right to grow at such a rapid pace. So, of course, they questioned the cook, which is the Duchess cook. So, Alice then is called upon as a witness, but accidentally knocks over the jury box with the animals inside in order for them and the animals to be placed back in their seats till the trial continues. So the king and queen then orders Alice to be gone, reciting Rule 42, all purpose more than a mile high must leave the court. But Alice doesn't care and refuses to leave. So she argues with the king and queen of hearts over the ridiculous stuff, refusing to hold her tongue, only to say it's not who stole the tarts in the first place. In the process, the queen confirms that Alice is culprit, responsible of stealing the tarts, which of course they shouts off of her head. But Alice is not afraid in this one, calling them just a pack of cards, although through Alice's own time, the cards soon gave up and started to swarm all over her. But of course, Alice then wakes her up from her dream in this one, brushing off what seems to be happens, and leaves and not show any form of playing cards in Alice's face. So Alice leaves with her sister in the bank to imagine all the curious things that would happen. So that's basically, the behind the story of Alice in Wonderland. Now, the story right here itself, the original story, would have to be really cool, even though it's not really the same as Disney. Like, I'm surprised Disney didn't even add some of these characters. But in their own self, I definitely have to say, that Disney actually made a lot of great concepts. So, but what happened is, Disney, the Griffin, and Alice, and the Mock Turtle were supposed to appear in Disney. But of course, when it came to the development of Disney animated this, the Mock Turtle was planned to appear. But however, the Mock Turtle, alongside with the Jabberwocky and the Griffin, were discarded for pacing reasons. However, the Mock Turtle did appear in the Disney commercial with Alice and the Griffin. So surprisingly, in the 1990 live-action Alice in Wonderland movie, he is voiced by Gene Wilder. So he did get to be in at least the Alice in Wonderland movie. But surprisingly, the Mock Turtle does not appear in the Tim Burton one, but a portrait of him could be found. Surprisingly, I can definitely say, the whole story itself with different versions and adaptations of Alice in Wonderland, it just really has to say that I really do have to say that this is actually very different compared to the Disney movie and even the book. Some of the stuff that was in the book did not make it into the movie. Like I kind of say, I know they probably just were going to plan to do it, but they end up scrapping certain stuff for certain reasons, like things like it would make the movie too long, the character doesn't have a place, or if it was not necessary to add these kind of stuff. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I really didn't think, why they didn't appear, which is a possibility. But what if you guys have seen? So I'm just going to wrap it up right now because I just kind of explained more about Alice in Wonderland. So if you guys really enjoyed this, if you enjoyed this episode of Shadows and Pretties, give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see. If you do enjoy this video, leave it a like, hit the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. And also, please leave me links to, certain things, like stories or anything like that. If you guys want me to do creepypastas you like me to do, like if it's your own or something, please leave links to them because I would really like to check them out. But also, I'm going to say right now, if you like this video, be sure you hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, be sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell so then that way you'll get notified by my latest uploads. And as always, I'll be catching you all in the next video. Peace out.